The warning from the stars. The night sky over Earth was clear, filled with millions of distant stars. In a small observatory on the outskirts of a quiet city, Dr. Alan Carter stared at his screen, his hands frozen above the keyboard. The signal had come again. For weeks, astronomers had been receiving strange pulses from deep space. At first, they thought it was just random noise, another false alarm. But this was different. It was structured, repeating in patterns too perfect to be natural. And tonight, it changed. A sequence of numbers flashed on the monitor. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. The first prime numbers. A clear sign of intelligence. But then, something else appeared. A phrase, written in simple binary code. You are the last. Alan's breath caught in his throat. He blinked, hoping it was a mistake. But when he ran the translation again, the same words appeared. He grabbed his phone, his fingers shaking as he dialed. Dr. Vasquez, you need to see this, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Within hours, the world's top scientists gathered in secret. Governments were alerted. Satellites were reprogrammed to focus on the source of the signal. It came from a system over 200 light-years away, a dead star, surrounded by debris. No signs of life. No planets. Just silence. Yet, the signal was active. Someone, something, had sent this message. But why? In an underground military base, General Marcus Hayes stood with his arms crossed, watching as the scientists explained their findings. The signal wasn't random. It had been sent with purpose. This could be a warning, Dr. Vasquez said, adjusting her glasses. Or a message left behind by a civilization that no longer exists. Hayes narrowed his eyes. Are you telling me we're looking at the remains of an extinct alien race? Vasquez nodded. Yes, and they're telling us that we're the last ones left. A heavy silence filled the room. Then, Dr. Patel, a quiet but brilliant astrophysicist, spoke up. The Great Filter. Some of the officers frowned, unfamiliar with the term. But the scientists understood immediately. The Great Filter was a theory, an idea that explained why the universe seemed so empty. It suggested that somewhere along the path of technological advancement, every intelligent civilization faces a barrier they cannot overcome. Some destroy themselves. Some are destroyed by something else. And if this message was real, then humanity had not yet passed it. As scientists debated the meaning of the message, another discovery shook them to the core. A deep space probe had detected an unknown object drifting at the edge of the solar system. It was massive, almost as large as Earth's moon. It had no heat signature, no communication signals. It was just waiting. Was it debris from a lost civilization, or something else? The question no one wanted to ask lingered in every mind. Was this the thing that ended them? And is it coming for us next? A decision had to be made. Humanity could not ignore this warning. A secret mission was planned. An elite team would be sent to investigate the object. If there were answers to be found, they would be the ones to find them. As the ship prepared for launch, Alan Carter stood at the observation deck, staring at the night sky. The stars looked peaceful, distant, beautiful. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something out there was watching and waiting. The deep space shuttle, Helios 7, moved silently through the void, its engines humming softly as it approached the unknown object at the edge of the solar system. The 5-person crew sat in tense silence, each one aware that they were heading toward something that could change everything. Commander Elias Grant watched the monitors closely. The object was just ahead, a massive dark structure floating in the cold emptiness of space. It wasn't a natural formation. Its surface was smooth, metallic, and covered in strange, alien markings. Dr. Natalie Rhodes, the ship's exobiologist, adjusted her visor as she examined the readings. No heat signature, no power source detected. But it's old. Thousands of years, maybe more. Lieutenant Mark Hayes, the ship's weapons officer, frowned. Then why is it still here? If it belonged to a dead civilization, wouldn't it have drifted away or been destroyed? No one had an answer. As Helios 7 moved closer, something unexpected happened. A faint signal, barely detectable, pulsed from the object. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. A hatch on the side of the structure opened. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "That's not possible," whispered Dr. Rhodes. "How did it know we were here?" Commander Grant took a deep breath. "Only one way to find out. Suit up. We're going in." The landing inside the structure was smooth. The air inside was thin but breathable. The walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing faintly in the dim light. As the team moved deeper inside, they found rows of empty rooms, each one filled with strange ancient machines. Some looked like control panels. Others resembled stasis pods, long abandoned. And then they found it. A massive hall, lined with holographic displays. As the team stepped inside, the displays flickered to life. A recorded message began playing in a language they didn't understand, until their translator began processing it. A chilling voice echoed through the chamber. "We were the last. Before you." The crew's blood ran cold. Dr. Rhodes stared at the screen, barely able to breathe. The images that followed showed entire planets consumed by something unseen. Civilizations erased without a trace. Every species that had reached this level of advancement had vanished, except humanity. This is what the signal meant," she whispered. "We're next." Before anyone could react, something moved in the shadows. Something had been waiting inside. And now it knew they were here. The temperature inside the alien structure dropped. The air became thick, heavy with something unseen. The flickering holograms cast eerie shadows on the walls, distorting the images of civilizations long gone. Commander Grant's hand hovered over his weapon. "Everyone stay sharp," he whispered. A deep, inhuman sound echoed through the hall, something between a whisper and a growl. It came from the darkness beyond the holographic displays. The team froze. Dr. Rhodes gripped her scanner tightly. "There's movement," she muttered. "Something is here with us." Mark Hayes lifted his rifle. "I don't like this. We need tow." Before he could finish, the lights in the chamber went out. Total darkness. Only the soft glow of the holograms remained, casting ghostly figures across the walls. A shadow moved between them. Fast, fluid, unnatural. A sudden clank rang out behind them. The hatch they had entered through had sealed shut. Dr. Rhodes gasped. "We're trapped." "Not yet," Grant said, forcing calm into his voice. "Keep moving. We need to find another way out." They pressed forward through the dark corridors, their flashlights flickering as if something was interfering with the power. The deeper they went, the more disturbing the place became. Walls lined with frozen remains, humanoid but not human. Eyes hollow, faces twisted in expressions of terror. "This wasn't just a research station," Rhodes whispered. "It was a prison." Then they saw it. At the end of the corridor, standing in front of a massive sealed door, was a figure. It was tall, its body wrapped in ancient armor, metallic yet organic. Its face was covered by a featureless mask, but its eyes glowed dimly in the dark. It wasn't moving. It wasn't breathing. "Is it dead?" Hayes asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could answer, the figure's head snapped toward them. The eyes burned brighter. And then it spoke. "You should not have come." The holograms around them flickered again, showing a final image, one that made their blood run cold. A massive black mass, moving between the stars, consuming everything in its path. An unstoppable force that had erased countless civilizations. The Great Filter. This station wasn't abandoned, Rhodes breathed. It was left here. As a warning. The figure took a step forward. "You are the last," it said again, "and it is already coming." A distant rumble shook the station. Something outside, something massive, had just arrived. The crew turned toward the sealed door, hearts pounding. Whatever was waiting beyond it was their only way out. A deep rumble vibrated through the alien station, shaking dust from the ceiling. The holographic images flickered, distorting the terrifying scenes of destruction they had just witnessed. Commander Grant's pulse raced. The armored figure still stood before them, unmoving, its glowing eyes locked onto them. Outside, something enormous had arrived. "We don't have time for riddles," Hayes shouted, gripping his rifle. "If something's coming, we need to get out now." The armored figure didn't move. Instead, it raised one hand and pointed toward the massive door behind it. "Beyond this door lies your only chance," it said. "But if you open it, there is no turning back." Grant hesitated. "What's on the other side?" The figure remained silent. Dr. Rhodes's scanner beeped frantically. "I'm picking up." She stopped, staring at the screen. "I don't know what I'm picking up. There's something alive back there, but it's wrong." Another thud shook the structure. The deep space sensors on their suits registered a gravitational anomaly forming just outside the station. Mark Hayes backed up, gripping his rifle tighter. "I don't care what's back there. I'd rather take my chances than stay here and wait for whatever is coming." Grant looked at the others. Rhodes's face was pale, her hands trembling. Hayes was tense, ready for a fight. Engineer Vasquez and Navigator Lee hadn't spoken, but their eyes screamed the same thing. "We need to move." Grant turned back to the armored figure. "Help us or get out of the way." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the figure stepped aside. The massive door hissed as ancient mechanisms came to life, gears grinding after millennia of stillness. Slowly, it slid open. Beyond the door was a massive chamber, filled with machines unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Some hovered weightlessly, defying gravity. Others pulsed with an eerie blue glow, like beating hearts of unknown technology. But in the center of the room was something else. A vessel. Not human. Not like anything built by the dead civilizations they had seen in the holograms. It was sleek, dark, its surface shifting like liquid metal. It was waiting. Vasquez's voice was barely above a whisper. "This thing is alive." Rhodes's scanner flickered wildly, or something close to it. Behind them, the armored figure spoke once more. The others refused to leave. "They perished. You must decide. Fight the darkness or flee." A final quake shook the station. This time, the lights failed completely. And in that endless blackness, a sound emerged from outside the station. A deep, resonating hum. Something was coming. Something vast. Something hungry. Grant clenched his jaw and looked at the ship before them. He had seconds to decide. Everyone on board. Now. No one argued. They ran. As they crossed the threshold, the ship responded, its surface shifting, openings forming like it had been waiting for them. Behind them, the armored figure watched in silence. Then, as the crew scrambled inside, the station tore apart. And the last thing they saw before the doors sealed shut was the black mass outside, stretching across the void. And it was looking right at them. The ship sealed itself shut the moment the last crew member scrambled inside. The walls shifted, reshaping like liquid metal solidifying into place. The air inside was eerily still. No controls, no screens, no visible engines. Commander Grant turned, heart pounding. "Vasquez, get us moving." The engineer ran her hands along the strange interior. "I don't know how. There are no controls. No interface. Nothing." Outside, through a translucent hull, they saw the alien station collapse into itself. The black mass, the thing beyond the stars, was closing in. Then the ship moved. Not with the jolt of thrusters or the hum of engines. One moment, they were floating near the station. The next, they were somewhere else. The ship sealed itself shut the moment the last crew member scrambled inside. The walls shifted, reshaping like liquid metal solidifying into place. The air inside was eerily still. No controls, no screens, no visible engines. Commander Grant turned, heart pounding. "Vasquez, get us moving." The engineer ran her hands along the strange interior. "I don't know how. There are no controls, no interface, nothing." Outside, through a translucent hull, they saw the alien station collapse into itself. The black mass, the thing beyond the stars, was closing in. Then the ship moved. Not with the jolt of thrusters or the hum of engines. One moment, they were floating near the station. The next, they were somewhere else. A soft, whispering voice echoed through the chamber. Not human, not mechanical, but something else. "You are the last." Everyone turned. The symbols on the walls shifted again, forming a projection, a recording of an ancient being. It was humanoid, but its eyes burned with a dim blue glow, just like the armored figure in the station. Its voice carried weight, like it had spoken across thousands of years. "We failed. We tried to stop it. We tried to warn them. But no one listened." The crew stood frozen as images flashed, civilizations crumbling, planets swallowed whole, stars extinguished like candle flames. Rhodes whispered, "The great filter." The projection continued. The cycle always repeats, but now you are the last. The ship hummed, its energy pulsing as if reacting to the message. New symbols formed on the walls, two distinct paths. One showed a distant system, still untouched, a chance for humanity to flee and hide. The other showed a weapon, buried in an unknown world, a chance to fight. Grant stared at the options. His team looked at him, waiting. He exhaled. Run or fight? The ship awaited their answer. And outside, in the void, the black mass shifted, sensing their presence once again. The symbols on the walls pulsed, waiting. Two paths, two choices. Run and hide, or fight. Commander Grant's hands curled into fists. Hiding meant extinction would come later. Fighting meant it might never come at all. He took a deep breath. "We fight." The moment he spoke, the ship responded. The walls shifted again, the glowing veins intensifying. The translucent panel revealed a new destination, a distant world bathed in pale blue light. Then, without sound, without motion, they were there. The ship hovered over a planet unlike any they had seen before. Below, enormous structures stretched across the landscape, ancient and lifeless. Some were torn apart, others half buried in dust. Rhodes scanned the surface. "This isn't just a planet. It's a graveyard." Vasquez studied the ship's walls. "No, it's a battlefield." Marquez frowned. "Then what are we supposed to find here?" As if in answer, the ship descended. Without thrusters, without a single sound, it touched down in the heart of the ruins. The walls around them pulsed one last time before forming a single sentence. "The weapon waits below." A massive structure loomed ahead. An entrance carved into a mountain, its doors half collapsed. Faded symbols lined the stone. This was no ordinary ruin. "This place is older than the station," Rhodes whispered. "Maybe older than Earth itself." A cold wind swept through the entrance as they stepped inside. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Lights flickered in the dark, remnants of an ancient power source still barely alive. Then they saw it. A chamber the size of a city, filled with rows upon rows of machines. Towers of steel, glowing orbs, and intricate mechanisms that stretched into the dark. In the center, a massive artifact stood. Unlike the ruined machines, this one was still active, humming with unseen power. Its surface shimmered, shifting between shapes, almost like it was aware. Vasquez swallowed hard. This isn't just a weapon. It's something else. Rhodes stepped closer, her scanner beeping wildly. This might be the only thing that ever wounded the Great Filter. A deep rumble shook the ground. From above, dust fell as something massive stirred. And then the shadows moved. Outside the ruins, the sky darkened. The black mass had followed them. It loomed above the world, stretching tendrils of abyss toward the surface. It had found them. Hayes readied his rifle. Whatever that thing is, we need to use it. Now. Grant turned to Vasquez. Can you activate it? She hesitated, then placed her hand on the artifact. The entire chamber lit up. Machines long dormant roared to life, pulsing with energy. Symbols flashed across the walls, faster than any of them could read. Then a final message appeared. This is your only chance. Above them, the black mass descended, and the last battle began. The chamber shook violently as the ancient machines roared to life. Lights blazed along the walls, pulsing in a rhythmic sequence, responding to Vasquez's touch. Outside, the black mass coiled through the sky, stretching toward them. It had come to finish what it started. Grant's voice was steady, but his hands clenched into fists. We end this. Now. Vasquez's fingers danced over the shifting controls, her breath shallow. It's waking up. But I don't know how long we have. The artifact hummed, its surface rippling like liquid metal. A low, echoing voice filled the chamber, not in sound, but in thought. Final protocol. Activation imminent. Massive spires unfolded from the ground, each one absorbing energy from the ruins. Sparks danced through the air, and the very planet trembled beneath them. Rhodes checked her scanner. This thing is drawing power from the core of the planet itself. Outside, the black mass shrieked. It had sensed the threat, and it was coming. Dark tendrils descended, slamming into the surface, tearing through ancient ruins as if they were made of paper. The ground split open, and unnatural shadows poured forward, moving like liquid, swarming toward them. Here they come, Hayes shouted, raising his rifle. The first wave of shadow constructs lunged. Twisted, shifting shapes with no solid form, their movements unpredictable. The team opened fire, bullets ripping through nothingness. Then one of the creatures solidified mid-leap, and Vasquez's plasma shot tore through it. They can be hurt, she yelled. But we need to hit them when they take form. Grant gritted his teeth. Then we hold the line. The sky darkened completely as the black mass loomed overhead. More tendrils crashed down, destroying everything in their path. The very air warped, pulling them toward the void. Inside the chamber, the artifact pulsed violently. The message on the walls changed. System overload. Countdown initiated. A timer appeared. 2 minutes. Vasquez gasped. It's going to trigger something massive. We need to move. Rhodes shouted over the chaos. What if it destroys the whole planet? Grant's voice was calm. Then we make sure we're not on it. Escape or annihilation. The team sprinted back toward the ship, dodging collapsing structures and the writhing creatures that clawed at them. The air burned, the very fabric of reality distorting as the black mass fought to stop them. The ship reacted, sensing their desperation. The moment they stepped inside, the walls sealed shut, and the view outside showed only a blinding white light. Then, silence. When the light faded, they were somewhere else. A new star, a new sky, and below them, a planet untouched, untainted. The ship pulsed softly, as if exhausted. The walls formed a final message. The cycle is broken. Vasquez exhaled. Did we win? Rhodes stared at the stars. We survived. But Grant knew the truth. The great filter had been defeated. But at what cost?